What's up, guys? This is Doctor, and welcome to another episode of the FPL Fantasy. As you can see, I'm back to my environment. I'm back home for a couple of weeks. I'm back to my microphone, so I hope you hear me perfectly now. I'm taking it back to my workplace again when I travel next week. But for now, we are excited to bring you another episode for Game Week 31. We're going to the running of the season, and of course, I cannot do any episode without my man Joe. Joe, how are you?
I'm actually doing pretty alright. Let me tell you, I don't know if you've checked my team, but the last 4 weeks, well, last week I didn't take a hit, but the 3 weeks before that, I took hits. I took a -4, it worked out for me. I took a -8, it worked out for me big time. I think I gained like 17 points on my transfers. And then the week after that, I gained like another 6 or 7 points. So I'm back. I'm ready to take massive hits. I'm ready to completely tank my season on accident. Let's do this thing.
This is the running, and it's always very volatile to ranks because a lot of chips are going to get played. A lot of people have already played their chips. The top 10K will be very volatile now. People will take risks. Is it recommended to take risks or no? Probably we're going to address it around game week 34 because I've noticed a lot of people kind of, like it's the end of the season. I need to jump this 100 positions to get in the top 10K, or I need to jump this 1,000 positions to get into the top 100K. People have their targets, so they take this -8, -12. So we'll talk more about it kind of around game week 34, 35. But for this game week, we kind of have a plan of the things we're going to talk about. We're going to start with the captaincy within this week and next week, because that's kind of the biggest difference you can have. We're going to talk about the goalkeeper situations because we heard about Ramsdale and we're going to get into it really soon. We're going to talk about Trent possible replacements, although we got some leaks that Trent is back to full training. So we're going to have the discussion about in case he doesn't feature or Klopp says anything. And the last thing, how many Everton and Burnley players you should have in your team. Shall we get into it, Joe?
Let's do it. Let's get into it. I'm fired up and ready.
Great. So who are you captaining this game week, Joe?
So this game week, I think I'm going to end up settling on Salah. Now, I know Kane has been in ridiculous form. I think he's a 10 on the site for form right now. And I I think if you look at the numbers right after the deadline, it's going to be a lot closer than you expect. I think the performance that Salah had in the Egypt game and the fact that he went for 120 minutes is going to throw people off of Salah a little bit, and probably a lot more than most of us would expect. It doesn't terrify me. Salah missed a goal while he had a sheet of green light on his face. He's angry. He's ready to get results. He wants trophies. He's going to come out and get the Premier League trophy. That's how I think it's going to happen.
I totally agree. I'm 99% I'm going for Salah unless something drastically changes, like Klopp says I'm not going to start him. But I should bring to your attention that if I remember correctly, that Klopp mentioned last time that Salah lost the final of the AFCON, that he was kind of not in the right frame of mind to play the next match. He still started him, and I think he subbed him off or something. I remember something along those lines. However, as Salah, if I get any indication that he's starting, he's going to be my captain. Kane is going to be a phenomenal differential to have. He's playing Newcastle at home. Yes, Newcastle have solidified recently, especially in the past, let's say, 6 to 8 game weeks defensively. So they are becoming a very good team to play. Well, not to play against, but if you are looking for a really big differential, I think the numbers, I disagree with you. I think the numbers will not be as close as we think. I think Salah will be the overwhelmingly captained option. Yes, a couple of people might be put off by the performance or by the exit or by what I mentioned earlier, but I think Kane is a phenomenal differential if you're kind of trying to jump ranks and take that risk. I wouldn't take that risk at this point because there is a nicer time and opportunity for that, which I mentioned at the beginning of the video, which is next game week where Salah is playing Manchester City. Are you still captaining him next game week?
That's up in the air. I can't tell you my secrets. I can't discuss that till next week.
Well, I'm looking into it, and I don't think I will. I think I'm leaning towards Kane for next game week. So if you're planning your transfers and you're kind of safe, I was just telling my viewers, if you're kind of safe and planning to get transfers, like if you have the main players that you want in your team and you're thinking of rolling, but you do not have Harry Kane, I recommend you might want to get him in because it's going to be, if you look at kind of the game weeks, how they're going to go, especially if you have your chips, it's going to be like kind of Salah, Kane, and then probably if you have your free hit, you're going to free hit in 33, so you can choose whoever you want. And then again, 34, 35, it's Salah, Kane. So there is this kind of Kane Salah rotation when it comes to captaincy. So I don't like using this word, but Kane is getting to the essential part. I mentioned in a tweet that I've noticed, I haven't checked, I haven't verified, I didn't check the numbers, but through experience, 15 years playing FPL, I've noticed that kind of teams lose form and some teams gain form after an international break. It kind of breaks the form. Let's say a team have been winning 5 game weeks in a row and all of a sudden an international break. I feel so there are some they start slow in the first 40 minutes, 45 minutes. So Tottenham were in form for the past 5 game weeks, 6 game weeks. I wonder if they're going to keep this form. On the opposite side, I wonder if Everton gonna start kind of developing momentum and start playing very well. So, and they have a double game week this game week. It's a nice segue to jump to the next question. Would you have any Everton players, Joe?
Why? Never. 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 Never.
Well,
I
they have a
I
double game week.
I completely get it. What I decided to do was the safe pick and bring back in Weghorst because if he gets 2 points in Man City, whatever. But if he plays it when he plays against Everton, he's right now he's the attack, and he can come out and he can get 15 points against Everton. I mean, probably 3/4 of the league could get 15 points against Everton, and that's where I'm sitting. I hate bringing in anybody from either of those teams, but with Jimenez out and the forwards looking like Kane or don't pick up anybody,
Yeah.
he seemed like the only viable option to really bring in. So in that game, I know we were talking about Everton, but simple answer, I'm not touching Everton. Bringing in one Burnley player and calling that I have covered both teams, everything looks good from here. How about you?
I've already I've already brought Gordon in last game week or the game week before it in anticipation for this double game week. I've seen a lot of people are doing Ramsey to Gordon this game week. I do not recommend that. Have a look at Aston Villa fixtures. They have phenomenal fixtures from 34. They have a double game week coming up. So I wouldn't take out Ramsey for Gordon at the moment because Ramsey, you would want him back around game week 34. I will have only one this game week from those two teams who are doubling, Burnley and Everton. I will not have any from Burnley because my plan transfer is kind of I want to bring Reece James or Cancelo into my team instead of probably Saiz looking into my team. But I don't hate bringing Weghorst. I wouldn't captain him at this point because it's a kind of a, like you mentioned, it's a 2 points game if you're lucky versus Man City, and you never know what's going to happen in that game as well. So Everton players, yes, maybe Gordon is the most attractive one. Again, if you're chasing and if you're looking to jump ranks, I might take a punt on one more player, and that's about it. But yeah, Gordon seems like he cemented his place in Lampard, and I hope they see kind of a change in form because their form is absolutely terrible. So Weghorst is a good option also to bring in because in 32 he has Norwich, so there is a good chance he scores well in that game as well. So I totally agree with that. Yes.
Yeah, and Everton's one of those teams that it's painful no matter who you root for to see how far they have really fallen from grace right now. And they have DCL, who was firing at the beginning of the season, who has been a stud in previous years, and there's just nothing there. There's nothing in the tank right now. So they definitely need some sort of fire underneath them to get them back into the running to, I think there's pretty much safe from relegation. Well, nobody's safe from relegation ever, but they have a little bit of a cushion, but they really need to make sure that they start getting some points to secure safety for next year, and hopefully in the off season they can figure it out. Now if they come back and they're firing on all cylinders and they start ripping through teams, I stand corrected. I will be the first person to tell you I was wrong, but I don't see that happening right now.
That's one of the interesting things because if you looked at the team, kind of the squad before the season began, and they had Benitez coming in, and you would think that they would be probably in the top, let's say, eight at least, guaranteed. They had this Allen transfer, for example, that I expected to do well, to make them as a unit to play very well. But yeah, things went down south fast, and they stayed down south, or they stayed down. So I wonder if they're going to kind of gain momentum now, especially with those fixtures. They have decent enough fixtures to kind of get 6 points, 3 points, 1 point here, 1 point there. So I think they'll be safe, but you never know. As the Premier League, you take one match by at a time, one injury here, one suspension there, and you're kind of swimming against the tide. So it will be very interesting to see. Yes, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Joe. We got leaks from This Is Anfield kind of today, actually, this morning, that he is back to full training and he's in contention to start versus Watford. Let's say tomorrow Klopp mentions, we're recording this on Thursday afternoon, mentions that he might miss out. Would you sell him at this point?
No, no, he's not going anywhere. I have so much money invested in him, and also it's Trent. If he misses, he's not going to, but if he were to miss 2 to 3 game weeks, especially in this final run that we have going here, I know Trent can get back into the lineup and recoup those points. He's not James. He actually scores points week in and week out. He doesn't put up 24 points and then go, all right, my ankle hurts. I'm out for 3 weeks, guys. I'll see you later. Hopefully there's an international break. That's not the same guy. But on my team, Trent's staying no matter what, unless they say, oh, something bad happened in rehab when he got integrated back into the team and started training again. His ankle's completely busted. He's out for the season. That happens, okay. Swallow my pride. I'll sell Trent because he's not getting me any points.
Do you have any chips left, Joe?
I have bench boost and a single free hit.
This is where I think it differs because I have my wild card. So if Trent is out, this is where strategies differ and chips differ. If Trent is out from Watford and then he plays Man City and then I'm free hitting and then I'm wild carding at 34. So when I wild card, I can bring him in. Yes, there is some money invested, but if he misses Watford, which is the game that you want him for, I can bring him in on my free hit if I really want to. Otherwise, I can just bring him on my wild card. So if he's out of the Watford game, he's definitely a sell for me, and he's going to be the person who becomes James or Cancelo. Yes, there is a lot of money tied into him, but you expect him to drop a couple of times in the next couple of weeks, which will kind of recuperate what I kind of spent on him. Yes, I might buy him more. 0.3 more, but again, it's the end of the season. You chase points, you forget value, and you try to get the points. So for depending on your strategy and depending on the chips you have left, I think Trent is an actual sell if you're wildcarding in game week 34 because I'm bench boosting in 36 as well. If you don't have the wildcard, then we have a different discussion because it's one transfer to take him out and one transfer to bring him in. Let's say it's for a -4. So it's a different conversation. Yes, I probably wouldn't sell him because you would want him also 33. It depends on the chips you have, to be honest.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. If you have a wild card, I think you can sell him because it's almost like he never left your team, especially if he's out this game week or he makes, an appearance at 80 minutes. And then he's got City, and City's a tough opponent. So you're not going to expect a ton of points. It's possible, but you're not going to expect a ton of points. And then if you go right into a wild card in the next coming week there, I think that's the best option that you can do if you have a wild card. For people like me, like we said, it's a much different conversation because you can't just sell Trent and then get him back in so super easy. And yeah, you might lose a couple 0.1s on his value, but if us people that are hanging on to Trent are never going to get rid of Trent for the rest of the season, who cares if we lose money? Because we're never going to see the benefit of his price rises anyways. So, yeah, I completely agree with you.
Yeah, and if he misses, let's say, one game, and then the next game after Man City, we have 8 game weeks left in the season. And if you think about it, if he's gonna not perform in two of them, is he really that much of a value to keep him for those 2 games while you can bring him back? So it's about kind of, again, it's about chips, it's about strategies, about those kind of things. Speaking of injuries, Arteta an hour ago mentioned that Ramsdale is kind of unlikely, I'm rephrasing here, unlikely to feature for the next match. Who are your goalkeepers, Joe?
So my goalkeepers are, and we saw this on Twitter, a question asked, is Ramsdale and Foster. And
So this is the main questions being asked because a lot of people have Ramsdale and Foster in their team. What are you planning to just play Ramsdale and hope he plays, and if he doesn't, Foster features, or are you planning to take a hit for a goalkeeper?
I'm playing Ramsdale. Foster's going to be on the bench. I don't care if he plays or he doesn't. Doesn't matter to me. The thing that I'm looking at is I like Foster anyways. He's going to come in. He's going to get save points. Like that's it's almost guaranteed that he's going to get some sort of save points, right? So he's up against Liverpool. Liverpool isn't a team that pulls their shots. They're going to be firing. Now, yes, they might score 3, 4, 5 goals. But if Foster saves 37, I don't care if they scored 20 goals. Great, fine, whatever. That doesn't matter to me. So that's kind of where I'm living with it. I'm also, I guess, old school or me school with my goalkeepers of I don't mind taking a transfer or a hit for it, but I also try not to because goalkeepers, yes, they can bring in a decent amount of points, but a -4 on a goalkeeper, you're almost never going to see a goalkeeper hit double digits, essentially, unless they, save a penalty, get a clean sheet, and save 6 shots. So that's where I'm sitting with that. Ramsdale is the starting guy because he has the better fixtures. If he doesn't play, cool, Foster's in. Rest my case. Sleep well at night. Yeah.
I absolutely agree with everything you've said because if you think about it, I wouldn't take a hit to change those players because if Ramsdale doesn't play, you would hope Foster comes in and just not get negative points. Even if Foster for some reason doesn't feature, you get 0 points. I wouldn't waste a transfer because you're having Ramsdale for the long term. They have nice fixtures, very nice fixtures, and they have a double coming up. So you would want Ramsdale anyway. So you're not transferring him out. So if you transfer Foster out for 1 game week, then you would kind of hope that this goalkeeper scores like 5 points or more just in order to get back what you spent on the transfer. So I don't think it's a very smart transfer to do. Yes, it might work. There are some goalkeepers that might get you those points. You can get Pope, for example, right? And he has a double game week now. He has double game week 33, and they have a lot of game weeks, and they have a lot of decent matches that he might get a clean sheet. So there is a small possibility that I would have done it if this was my goalkeeper combination. But thinking about it, you would just play Foster and hope he just doesn't get negative points. I think that's the play here. But for myself, for my team, I have David De Gea and Ramsdale, so I'm starting Ramsdale. If he doesn't play, De Gea comes in. Versus Leicester, I don't expect a clean sheet versus Leicester, but at least I have a good playing goalkeeper. Hopefully, you never know what happens now with the numbers of illnesses skyrocketing. I actually tweeted about this as well. There is a lot of illness going on now in the UK. A lot of people will miss out. A lot of players will miss out. The fixtures congestion that you have that can cause some absentees. So I would recommend that you have a decent bench and rearrange your bench from now as a bus team in case you forget your team. So yeah, a bench is very important going into the run-in, I think, especially with, like I mentioned, with the numbers going up in the UK.
I'll touch real quick because I know we basically said, hey, don't sell Trent unless you have a wild card. You can bring in a couple players if you do decide to sell them. You can look at Man City players. You can look at Chelsea players. Spurs defenders. Doherty is the one that I think everybody's really kind of created a consensus on that he's the guy to bring in. I think that kind of covers any and all of your options. Arsenal, possibly, if you want. They are kind of highly rated defenders within the community, and Arsenal's been playing very well, especially in their attack, but Their defense is bringing in points too. That's just the one thing that I wanted to loop back around, because when I was thinking about it, I'm like, I don't know that we even said, hey, if you do sell him for these people. So, personal,
That was within the plan, yeah.
yeah, personal preference, don't get James. He's going to score you 15 points this week, and next week he'll get a 0, a 1, then be injured. Personal
You,
preference, but
you
I understand. People love him.
you won't like that, Joe. That's actually my plan transfer. If Trent is out, my plan transfer is, is Trent out for James. I'm prioritizing him over Cancelo just because of the Cancelo fixtures versus Liverpool. I'm hoping Zofar mentioned on the FPL Wire that he's expert in the kind of the Chelsea team, and he believes that the match versus Real Madrid in the middle of the week is going to be kind of the Aspilicueta type of match. So James can play the league, gets rested for the Champions League, and plays the league again. So it's a possibility. Yes, there is an extreme minutes risk with James. I usually don't like bringing players back from especially muscular injuries, and James had one. So I don't like bringing those kind of players. We saw the recurrence or getting injured again after he came back from injury and scoring 18 points. We remember that game week. So Joe is very familiar how much James can hurt. He gets 18 points and then he gets zeros and ones. So I see that, but I'm prioritizing getting James just because of the fixtures and with the hope and the upside, of course, he has. Because I also think about it this way: if he brings me 12 points this game week and he gets me 0, that's effectively 6 and 6 if you calculate it like over 2 game weeks. So this is how kind of I play the game. It's about the combination of players you have. I do not have Cancelo, so I'm between Cancelo and James, and kind of I'm leaning towards James at the moment. Probably is going to be James coming into my team this game week, one transfer for a defender. However, yeah, I see your point. There might be a couple of other options. Like maybe if you really, really want to punt, you can go for a Burnley defender to just to get, well, they're going to get smashed versus Man City, but there is an option there. But like you mentioned, they have Arsenal options because they have double game weeks, and you can cover their clean sheet like Tierney if Ramsdale doesn't feature. So I totally agree with you there, Joe.
Yep. All right. Well, I've said my piece. Is there anything else you'd like to throw in there now?
I would like to tell my viewers to go right now and press that subscribe button if they're enjoying the content. We really appreciate it. Drop a like if you're enjoying the content. We're bringing more and more videos coming into the run-in. We're going to bring free hits drafts, wildcard drafts, and bench boots draft. So press that subscribe button, press that notification bell so you get notified whenever a video comes up. We're doing once a week, just usually every Thursday upload, but things can change. We might feel like more information are coming to light and we would like to shed light on it. So press that subscribe button. We really appreciate it. Thank you for your support, and we'll see you on Twitter, of course.
Yeah, I'd like to echo everything that Doc said, and my final thoughts of the week is hits are damaging to your team unless they're sensible and they work out for you. So don't be afraid to take hits if it makes sense and it's the best option for the game week.
There was the Maverick one here. He takes risks. I kind of play in the middle. I take a lot of risks as well, but Joe is so much riskier than I am. I don't play FPL very safe, but I'm playing it safer than Joe. Joe,
Yes.
we'll see everybody on the next episode.
All right, we'll see you everybody. Have a good one. Peace.